and we were talking about the journey that we're going on and different periods in time that kind of spark things in people's lives. So my journey was really 1997, fall of 1997, just fresh off of a 3-month stay at the Ronald McDonald House at the University of Chicago. Oldest son had a liver transplant. They took a third of my liver for him when he was 9 months old. He's a junior at the University of Missouri now, but it really brought me into focus on what was important in life, and started me on a journey that I had this concept, Matt and I were just talking, that was about how can I help donors in the best way possible? So people have charitable interests, but how can I work and look at it and make sure that they're doing it in the best manner possible for them as donors? So regardless of the mission of what they want to support or whatever, how do we structure the gifts so that it is done in the best manner for them? In 1997, two CEOs prior to Amelia, presidents of the Community Foundation, Tulia Hamilton, little black lady, PhD, wonderful person. I started working with her in the Community Foundation, and they helped us do charitable gift annuities for smaller charities. And I started to learn more about the Community Foundation and continued to watch them grow. Dave Lucas was then her successor at the Community Foundation. He came from the philanthropy area at Merrill Lynch. Again, helped take the organization to another level. Became very creative in how they were focused on donors, expanding their services as far as with businesses, things like that. Then Amelia took over from there, and again, the organization has grown and expanded. It's around 20 people. Now, the way to properly frame what they do is think of a custodian. Think of like a bank custodian, but it's with charitable dollars. And they do a wonderful job in working with charitable dollars because that's all they do. And it is, unlike bank trust companies or different areas that you may see things or trying to administer something on your own, what I realized was I can't do all of this, on my own for the things that I want to carry out from a philanthropic standpoint. So roll it forward 20 years later. This was 2 weeks ago. I was with my wife in New York. We were Invest in Others. I want to thank the Community Foundation, put me up for that award. There were 2,600 people nominated for that, but it was a Lifetime Achievement Award in philanthropy for the financial services industry, and I was one of the 10 finalists in that. I want to show you a project, if you could roll forward. In what I was doing, when you think about charity, a lot of times people think about businesses or corporations giving. 76% of the dollars that go to nonprofit organizations, we've got religion, we've got education, we have healthcare, 76% of the dollars come from you as individuals. A lot of you do it through your companies. Over 90% of entrepreneurs give, and they give along their journey, not at the end. Go ahead. One more. I wanted to show you this quick video. This was a partnership between Archford Capital, which is our company, and the Community Foundation. They helped me administer this program that we put in place, and I think it gives you a better sense of who they are and what they can do. So I'll let you show that.
Oh, I know that this road seems winding and slow, but You don't have to do it alone.
Good day, I'm Jim Mayer, CEO of Archford Capital Strategies. Throughout my life, the nonprofit sector has inspired me, impacted me, and changed not only me, but my family's life forever. Education, sports, healthcare are just some examples. Today, though, nonprofit organizations as a whole quest for outstanding volunteers, financial resources, creative leadership as they carry out their organization's mission. Given this need, Archford Capital is standing proud as we unleash a novel community project called Archford Angels. This philanthropic initiative was designed by Archford Capital as a way to engage each of our team members as they give back to the communities in which we live and work. Shared success is a core value at Archford Capital. We are grateful for all we have as an organization and want to share this with the nonprofit sector. We believe that giving back is not something we have to do, but want to do. We would like to welcome you on a journey this year with all of our Archford Angels as we carry this core value out into the community to 15 nonprofit organizations, handpicked by each angel. The Archford Angel Project is simple and straightforward. Each angel is given $1,000 for an initial contribution to their chosen nonprofit organization. They then compete with other angels to create projects that will be assessed based on impact to the nonprofit, sustainability, and personal growth. The top 3 angel projects will receive an additional grant for their organization in the amount of $10,000, $5,000, and $2,500.
The charity I've chosen to work with is Belleville Area Special Services Cooperative,
the South Muscuda JCs,
Caritas Family Solutions,
Project Compassion,
Boots on the Green,
Friends of Wings,
St. Louis Gamers Baseball Organization,
Althoff Catholic High School, Inner City Youth Tutoring,
Mosaic Pregnancy and Health Centers,
St. Louis Children's Hospital Foundation,
the Catholic Urbans Program,
Family Hospice of Belleville,
American Cancer Society.
My Archford Angel charity is a Griffin Center.
This will be a fun and inspiring way to create a little healthy competition and team building at Archford Capital as we carry out our shared success core value into the community. Again, we invite you on this journey with us. Updates will be posted on LinkedIn and the Archford Capital website. We will welcome you to follow the Angels and will ask you to vote on your favorite projects later this fall as part of their evaluation. Thank you. We look forward to this journey.
Live together. Live together.
The music and everything that was put together for that was done by Marnie Duchesne, one of our team members' daughters, for that, created the choreography and everything. This project was about as I said, shared success, but it was about giving back. But you think about, as a business owner, you're doing all the things you have to do without I just set up our program for next year. So I transferred an appreciated stock a week ago over to the Community Foundation that'll fund next year's program. They did all the distribution with the checks, the 15 different organizations. They were the ones that scanned to see if they were an approved 501c3 organization. They'll do the additional grant checks to those organizations. Again, the administrative part of charitable giving can be taxing. And, I've looked at them as a wonderful partner. So I want to turn it over to Amelia. She's going to share with you some of the things that they're doing from a corporate standpoint that can help assist people. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. Well, good afternoon, and thank you all for being here. If you're in this room, obviously you're most likely charitably inclined, and that's really important to St. Louis. Whether we look at governmental dollars, governmental programs, our community's ability to raise capital for different projects, different nonprofits, different needs, it just gets harder. And the Community Foundation is an entity that was created, the whole concept, there are 1,100 across the country. We were created 102 years ago. The St. Louis Community Foundation actually is the second oldest community foundation in the country. And so today, chances are you have no idea who we are, no idea what we do, and that's a problem here in St. Louis, to be honest. In our sister cities, whether it be Indianapolis, Columbus, Cleveland, Kansas City, it is a household word. Most people do understand what we do. And so I just want to take about 10 minutes to give you a very high overview of, touch upon some of the work we do, just so you get a feel. And that way, I'll try to keep it interesting too, so that if you want to probe a little deeper, we're always here to answer your questions. But I think, to Jim's point, if you're charitably inclined and you care about place, community is in the name of our foundation, in the whole concept that people live in places, businesses live in places, and that we want to create homes for our families and for our community. And that's the work of the Community Foundation. We are a foundation of foundations. So we're approaching about 750 various individual funds, and we have all kinds of different types of funds, and I'll get into a little bit of that today. But most of all, it's about planning. You know, the prior session that I listened to that Jim had on the white elephant, and it's family planning, it's our corporate planning. All of that, philanthropy may be something you want to be a piece of that. You know, philanthropy does not have to be the whole. As we like to say, just 5%. If you imagine if everybody thought about 5% of their assets, their net worth, you know, tithing, it's the same concept as tithing. It can be extremely powerful for a community and for a family and for a business. So with that, I just want to give you a couple of the topics that I thought I'd touch upon, and feel free to, if you have a question during this, you know, conversation is always sometimes more interesting than a lecture. But look, why should you consider this from a business perspective? Why is this useful for your business and engagement of your employees and your family? What is the return and benefits that you might experience? Why partner? I hope after this, you'll at least be aware of us and say, what can you do to help me and my family and my business? And what are the charitable tools and tools available? I think this is really the nitty-gritty, and I'll just give you just touch upon a couple examples. And then how do we execute a giving program? So next slide. First of all, charitable giving can impact the bottom line. It can increase your presence in a marketplace. Why do you think that Amazon or Google or Schnucks, when you're signing out at the register, are asking for, would you like to give to charity? We will give to charity if you buy a certain amount. It's proven, it's fact. Simply put, companies that give back move forward. And I'm telling you, when you think of generations today, we talk about millennials. You know, probably many of you have children that fall into that range of whether they be millennials or Y or Z. Multi-generational giving is very important to these next generations, and they want also immediacy and that immediate gratification. So we have experience in dealing with all types of generations, and when you look to your next employees, I guarantee you charitable giving is going to be part of the equation of what's the impact on the environment, what's the social impact, so you can engage them by thinking about philanthropy. And studies prove that there are return benefits not only to your community, but you know, the customers, and that customers will actually choose you because you are philanthropic. Again, the Google and the Amazon examples. So we have a couple statistics on the next slide that I wanted to just share. That first of all, 93% of Americans say that they have more positive image of companies that are charitably inclined. In fact, 82% of Americans consider that companies that are more social and have an environmental commitment, they will decide to shop if they think you are socially and environmentally inclined. And then 89% said they would switch their brand for a company that's viewed as more charitable. So I think from a business perspective, these are factors that you should consider of how do I make my company have a value proposition and that includes philanthropy as a piece of it. You're running a business. It takes time. It takes effort. The last thing that you're probably going to put on your to-do list every morning is, oh, I need to think about how we're going to give money away when you're trying to make money. But it is a good investment, and that's why the Community Foundation has had success in approaching businesses and helping businesses develop that strategy and then actually implementing it, and I think Archford Angels is a good example. I'm sure all of you probably didn't miss Bob Chapman's comments this morning. Well, in fact, Bob Chapman and his family are one of the oldest funds at the Community Foundation. By the way, he's not a 102-year-old fund. We actually sat on a shelf, unfortunately, for about 80 years and were revitalized by Civic Progress in the mid-'80s. That's why I'm the third president of the Community Foundation as well. So Bob has their employee care fund was one of our very first funds, which is where employees are helping themselves. In fact, Barry Waymiller made an initial investment, very modest, to create this fund, and employees who have experienced hardship can apply to that fund, and if they meet the parameters, the Community Foundation is responsible for all the administration, the approval or the declining of an employee that maybe they don't meet the criteria. And so it's employees helping employees. It's a company helping an employee. So Barry Waymiller has found that very successful. There's actually a great video on our website about how that works. To add to that, this year as an example, in Bob's mother's passing's memory, an endowment of $5 million was given to the Community Foundation to create a scholarship in her memory. And it's a scholarship that is organized and created in terms of its purpose by the family. So we are carrying out the wishes of the family, and we'll carry this out into perpetuity, forever, to meet what they want to happen in her legacy. And quite frankly, it's a great message within the company that they care. And so employee families can apply. So what are the benefits of return? I think we've pretty much summarized this. You have more loyal customers. You have a community foundation that can help you. And many of the benefits that we can provide are helping you build that giving program. We had recently, as an example, Watlow Electric. Watlow is a family-owned business. They had a board meeting at the Community Foundation offices. We're located just at number 2 Oak Knoll Park in Clayton. It's a great strategic planning place, I might mention, and because we're right in the middle of a park. The board met and said, we want charitable giving to be a part of our values as a corporation. It's a value-based proposition for certain of our executives, but not necessarily embraced by the whole company. We need to organize it. And so we helped them go through a process of what does that mean to them, created a report for them to implement, and as a result, they have opened an employee care, they've opened a scholarship fund, and they've opened a corporate a corporate donor advised fund at the Community Foundation. We do this for Clean, McBride, Archford, I'm just trying to think of other, a lot of the construction industry, Holland Construction, Alberici family. So mid-sized companies that are often family-owned find this to be of tremendous value. Okay, next slide. And of course, there's all the tax benefits. And often that is the motivation initially. But I think going back to the prior session in the White Elephant in the Room, lawyers, CPAs, they can give you all these tactical, numbers-based results. But at the end of the day, philanthropy is about how you feel. You know, it's the gift of giving, and it is that feeling. Why do employees, when they want to engage, yeah, they come for a paycheck, but you want them to want something so much more. And I'm telling you, philanthropy is a great way to get that corporate engagement and employee engagement. All right, next slide. I think we can go to the next. We've talked about that. So because we are a foundation of many funds, it's highly efficient. We have a staff that's approaching about 20 individuals, and this is all we do every day. And so we are that go-to resource when we have now, today we're approaching $400 million in assets under the umbrella of the Community Foundation. And in fact, this statistic's my new one that I'm giving just to give you a sense, because you've probably never heard of us. This year, the Community Foundation, the grant making, which is the most important number, is how many dollars are going out of the foundation to programs both locally and worldwide. About 80% of our dollars stay within the St. Louis region. Again, many of these dollars are donor directed, that we are receiving recommendations from the donors who have created these funds. This year, we will exceed in grant making what the United Way does. So we expect to exceed $70 million to $75 million of grant making this year. And so it is the wave of the future. We were the second fastest growing community foundation in the country in 2015. All right, next. So I think I have just a couple things for you. If you walk away today, and it may not be tomorrow, you say, I want to do philanthropy and I need to embed it within my company. But as you think about the values of your company, the values that you want to embed within your employees, and certainly it also applies to your family, these are the tools that we offer to engage, use to engage and come up with the strategy. And it may be one or it may be several. And I think my example of Barry Waymiller is a great one. I think they started as an employee care fund, and then, which is often referred to as a disaster relief fund. They have created a corporate donor advised fund where the executives actually give to that donor advised fund and then together decide for that portion of their funds where they as a company would like to put that brand on their grant making. And in fact, many individuals then might have their own personal charitable donor advised funds, which may or may not align with what the corporate funds are doing. We provide assistance in, and that would be the Executive Donor Advised Fund, the giving inventory. I mentioned sort of that's exactly what we did for Watlow. We can provide guidance and assistance in the grant making. I think Archford Angels, we talked about that. We make sure that, in fact, that grants are going to 501c3s that are valid. That sounds very like not that big a deal. Of course a nonprofit, if they say they're a nonprofit, they're a nonprofit. That is not necessarily the case. Also, and the burden does fall on the donor to make sure that you are giving to a valid nonprofit. And in fact, the IRS is now removing charitable status for nonprofits that don't file a 990 for 3 years consecutively. We are often, the Community Foundation is often the entity that is telling a nonprofit, did you know you lost your 501c3 status? And this happens regularly. Nonprofits are not necessarily the best at record keeping. So also the strategy, I mentioned giving strategy development. We are the creators of Give STL Day, and we've had a lot of companies say, we want to embed. That's a 24-hour online day of giving. You may or may not have heard of it. It happens in May each year. This next year will be our 5th year. But we have found that companies find it a fascinating way to engage employees and to even create competition between friendly, like industries. And how does your firm raise money on Give STL Day compared to another organization? And then corporate giving campaigns, doing your own individual corporate giving campaign for the benefit of the corporate brand. All right. So how do we execute? The child with the clouds and the having broken through the wall is just a good descriptor for us of you can't imagine the path. Jim mentioned the journey, and you just don't know where it's going to head. And we really want to encourage, that's our role, is to help you create that vision. the other nugget I want you to leave with is closely held business shares. You all have family businesses, businesses that are privately held. There is an enormous charitable benefit to, should you want to be charitable and at some point want to give a portion of that to charity, the Community Foundation can take that into as ownership prior to the sale of your business, and the tax deductions are much higher. And so once the sale occurs, your foundation becomes funded. Essentially, the difference is where it might be, your cost might be 75 cents on the dollar. In fact, it's about 30 to 35 cents on the dollar by just making that charitable contribution in advance of the sale. Again, we have taken in 3% of soft surroundings. We've taken in 10% of Answers.com, and that results in some of the largest foundations that are held within the umbrella of the Community Foundation. So with that, I think that's enough on that topic. I had a whole example, but I think we want to be sure we leave this open to any questions.
So I'm Jacob Hong. I work with Archford Capital. I'll reinforce one of the things that Amelia just said. We just launched a brand new website. We redid it. And on the website, there's voting for the Archford Angels. And within 2 hours, one of my coworkers, who I would call he is challenged in the social media space, he had 66 votes in 2 hours. And I had to have Marty call our IT group and say, is there something wrong with the site? Within the next day, another one of my coworkers had like 238 votes. And if you go back to what Bob Chapman was talking about earlier, if you don't think there's some games, some fun games and little jabs going back and forth in the office and people really talking about their charities, you're wrong. I mean, we're all in on this thing, and we're having a ton of fun.
Thanks, Jacob. It was, as you think about how you're positioning and doing your corporate giving or things, I mean, that project, my gift was we packaged that entire campaign up. I did the letters to the employees that went out announcing it. We did the press releases that people could use. We have the everything, all the correspondence that was done, and it's basically a campaign in the box, and that's free to anyone that wants to use that. I got called by a company the other day that's up in the Alton area, and they just released theirs. They have 58 employees, and they're giving each of them $1,000 to go out into the community and do so. They set up that model similar. We've got a company in North Dakota and a company in Minnesota as far as way that have adopted that same program. So again, it's outside the box. When I look at when the idea came to me, it was really about you are contacted all the time to give as business owners. You're the one that is asked to write the check, and your organization so often becomes very focused around just what we're doing. And one of our core values is shared success. And so it was, how can we expand this? What I never dreamed about was, to Jacob's point, the fun that we were having in doing it, the personal development element of this. Now you have someone that's 26 years old, 23 years old, and they're able to walk into an organization with a check for $1,000, an organization that they're interested in helping, not one that I'm driving the bus on which organization you're going to go help on Saturday or whatever. They're in there doing that themselves. And I mean, it is that aspect of it really blew me away. And I think back when I was younger, how meaningful, I mean, the nonprofit sector has been a part of my life the entire time. I mean, with my kids' illness, and I was the beneficiary. I was in the farming crisis, and so it was people that gave me scholarship money to go to school and allow me to do what I do today. And so it was always kind of a part of the mission or whatever. This partnering is you don't have to do all the lifting. And that's what I really wanted with this session and journey today. I really wanted people to understand there's wonderful tools out there to help you behind the scenes put in place what you want to do. Think about the video that she showed on that one person from a designated fund area versus the way I was approaching it, and they're working with both of us. You know, I mean, so it's very interesting in how you can customize this for yourself. So, love to open it up for questions.
Is there a minimum account size?
Yes. Well, what we say is our fee at the community fund, we of course charge a support fee. So our annual fee, and it depends on the type of fund, so it varies, you know, scholarships, administering scholarships are more expensive, et cetera. So we can walk you through all that. But our minimum fee on it per fund is $500. So we have said that, you know, we have funds ranging from $4,000 at the Community Foundation to a family with $55 million at the Community Foundation. And it really just comes to what's the value to you that we're providing for the fee, you know, and we like to say that you get to double dip because we're doing a lot of charitable work and grant making in the community ourselves, but sometimes people want to know what that fee is. So.
You know, so typically with donors, I'll typically say $50,000. If you think about that, that'd be 1%, the $500 on that. So it's kind of a benchmark for them. Again, appreciated assets, all, you know, how do you make it best for the donor? They're going to be able to have that conversation with you also in what, you know, what to give. I mean, they have extremely talented people that this is all they do, you know, and so again, leveraging your time.
We also we have situations we don't require the assets be held at the Community Foundation, so we have consulting services as well. So in particular, we have a number of foundations, and they're fairly large foundations that are family foundations where, you know, just bringing the family around the table is very important. So but yet they've wanted to remain as a private foundation, so we provide those services. We've also seen private foundations convert to a fund at the Community Foundation where they do become assets of the Community Foundation, but the board or that family or that business still want to get together and make recommendations in that thought process. So we'll act as the guide to assist and take the grant recommendations. So we're very customized. We look at ourselves as really quite entrepreneurial because every donor is different. Every company is different. Your goals are different, and that's what we think our value add is, to meet you where you want to be and where you are.
Share a quick story with you. I worked with a gentleman named Edgar Zimmer. He was the oldest practicing attorney in the state of Illinois. 72 years he practiced, 36 years public, 36 years in private practice. He was 102 years old when he eventually passed, and his father was a school teacher in Maystown, Illinois, small one-room schoolhouse. He had 7 siblings. There were 7 of them altogether, 6 siblings, and all of them were in education but him. He had no children. He gave his entire estate to the Community Foundation, and it's scholarships. And so Jabot, it's a $20,000 scholarship. Each Jabot gets one. Valmeyer gets one, Waterloo and Columbia each get 3, and started on this project in 1998 with the Community Foundation, and I was there after he had passed at one of the receptions at Columbia, and I'm going through the line, and the young girl in front of me said, what are you doing here tonight? And I said, well, I'm presenting the Zimmer Scholars. And she goes, oh, that's interesting. I'm a teacher here in Columbia. I was one of the first recipients of his scholarship. And, you know, you think about the impact that you have or the legacies that you create with your family. And it's very interesting. And again, that ability to have something that's going on in perpetuity. Other questions? I know we've got just a couple minutes left. I want to keep you on, be respectful of your time. Could you please do me a huge favor? We have an evaluation here And we've got a couple gifts that are there. If you would mark, if you're interested, there's a owners forum and owners summit in St. Louis. We've also got a couple books, and we've got a corporate giving guide from the St. Louis Community Foundation. But appreciate your time and being with us today.
Thank you, Jim.